Welcome to the bold analysis. Chief Justice Martha Koome will go down as the worst ever Chief Justice in the history of Kenya if she entertains the Kenya Kwanza shenanigans. At the end of this analysis, you will get the gist of that statement here. Let me explain something. Willie Mutunga is tearing apart the judiciary with this a stormy political statement that the judiciary is a political institution and not a constitutional one, or is no longer the justice chamber. This he said in an exclusive interview. Mutunga continues to explain, Mutunga, who is a former Chief Justice, is also saying that Kenya gave birth to a child in 2010, and this child was our first ever own-crafted constitution, but the child was handed over to a child trafficker in the last general election. The reasoning here is that the custodians of our election, of our constitution, that are supposed to protect our constitution, is the Kenya Kwanza administration. And Mutunga has likened the KK team with child traffickers. And what exactly is the role of a child trafficker? A child trafficker is that who sells the child, in the black market or so. If you allow me to use the story of Joseph in the Bible. So the child trafficker sells the child, and immediately the child is sold, that child is deprived of his or her, or let me say its right for parenthood. So as a country, the citizens in this context are the children. And of course, the leader, the person who is selling us, is the political leadership of the country. It's a very clear analogy you really want to understand, that the country is being auctioned to the highest bidder, not in full disregard of our rights as the citizens. And in case you're doubting this, I want us to look at these two instances. Look at the screenshot you are seeing there. This screenshot, there's a whistleblower known as Anne Kanuche, who I think is a deputy director in Kenya School of Law. She has raised some alarm over discrepancies on some employment at the judiciary. The first screenshot we're seeing here, Judicial Service Commission, is about people that were shortlisted for different positions: Chief Kadhi of the Republic of Kenya and the Registrar of the High Court. So I wanted to look at that part of Registrar of the High Court. You look all those names: Anne Wanjiru, Mbula Pauline, Mkoya Dennis, Nyamora Frederick, Juma Elizabeth, and someone Elizabeth Tanue. So those who were shortlisted for Registrar of High Court, if you look that list, then I want you to look the second screenshot. Someone there known as Honorable Clarence Awur Otieno has been appointed a new Registrar of High Court, and she was not shortlisted. So that is what Anne has raised, that there are some inconsistencies, and that people who are not even shortlisted are not there. And she says the GSC has appointed a Registrar of High Court who was not among those who were shortlisted. The same institution that a while back appointed 7 judges when they advertised only for 6. Can they explain how this came to be? And it has been brought to the table of Martha Koome. And Martha Koome must really be looking at how this plays out. Now, this is one thing I was saying, that employment and the lobbying structures, the level of lobbying could be in different parts. But again, if you look at that list, I think that lady, don't have a problem with the Clarence. She was the only one with an O name, who was not in that list. So somehow her name had to be fixed. That's just one instant on how political the courts or the judiciary can be. Let's look at the second bit. The lifting of the suspension on finance bill. The finance bill litigation has turned to be a picky-ponky from one court to the other. After High Court issued orders, I think those orders were stayed, then another High Court after the government appealed, but the Court of Appeal has lifted the conservatory orders on the suspension on finance bill on one ground, public interest. And they're saying, I've looked at the summary of their argument here, is that government is at the risk of being grounded because of that finance bill and because of the implementation of that finance bill. Well, there have also been a question of, is Kenya Kwanza, nothing like Kenya Kwanza, is UDA administration going to backdate the taxes? There have been that question that has been happening. And I don't expect any Messiah ruling, the white smoke from Supreme Court. But I am impatiently waiting for surprise. So you look at what has been happening, and I need to make a personal submission on this matter. That what has largely been treated as a genuine litigation, or rather by Omtata, has actually been hijacked by the structures within government, and it was just also another ploy to put stay orders on finance bill because they wanted to manage the situation, according to me. The courts were infiltrated, and the suspension was very strategic to manage the publics, because look at this. The protests have been held against the finance bill, then protests have been called off, and after they are called off, the finance bill suspension was lifted. Look at the chronology of those events. It clearly tells you that these things are not happening in a vacuum. That is why I want to draw some very clear observations in respect to Willie Mutunga's assertion that the judiciary is a political court. And so if it is a political court, then what dangers that poses for us as a country, both the political leadership and also the citizens of the Republic of Kenya? Before I explain my three aspects on that, I want to remind you kindly to subscribe to our channel. And also, are you planning to move your office items, your furniture, or your household items from one place to the other? Are you relocating from Nairobi to any other neighboring town, or from one side of the town to the other? Now, in movement, it's normally a very hectic process, and that is why I keep saying you need a reliable and a safe person, a safe company that can move your treasures with caution so that you move with ease. Contact Top Mark Movers here. Top Mark Movers are the best company in town when you talk matters movement from one place to the other. Their number is 07 19 17 43 93. Top Mark Movers, they're saying quality is everything. Let's get straight to my take. If William Mutunga was Chief Justice of the President of Judiciary, and he also made very controversial judgments during his time. I remember the 2013. There've been around a lot of discussion about money exchanging hands for that 2013 ruling. And of course, I will not highly doubt it, because there was a lot of stake at then. William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta had to become the president so that they will be relieved from the from the Hague issues. Now, in the light of this, therefore, Supreme Court should not be allowed to enjoy the monopoly of putting finality on our political arbitration. What I'm saying is the Supreme Court having the final say on our presidential election should and must be reviewed. Because if we've had a court that is swayed by the political emotions and the political discussions or proximity to the political power, then why are we allowing the 7-bench judge to decide a fate of the 50 million, more than 50 million Kenyans, if the decision can no longer be based on the merit of each case? That's the question. And I think not now, not today, not tomorrow, but somewhere, at some point, the country will get to a point of no return and ask that, okay, we need to think, are they right? Did we just put a plastic, did we just put a ceiling so that we move and form government without looking at really the nitty-gritties of, are we making judgments on merit? And that is why I insist, if it is what it is, that's about politics, then they need to lose the monopoly of finality, that when Supreme Court says that's the last court and government is going to be formed, and so that's it. I think we need to look at it, and the fellows that understand the Constitution could then look at it. Then secondly, the Kenya Kwanza administration has been docked with breach of Constitution a number of times. You can look at the way the CS positions was squashed by the courts. You can look at a number of cases that the government has lost. And in the courts, you can get that data from the ages, maybe the documents from Attorney General. Then, what is that left with us? We already see the government breaching the Constitution, and the courts are political courts, which acts on political convenience. Then the sovereign must be emboldened to defend their rights. That's it. If that is the language that the leaders will understand, I do believe that the sovereign should not be suppressed. And in fact, what I'm saying is in respect to a statement that came recently, that there was a plan to stifle the rights to demonstration, the rights to protest, simply because someone is feeling uncomfortable. Now, Martha Koome must be very wary, and I'm finishing what I started with, that he runs the risk of finishing the term with no track record, or as the worst Chief Justice, because Kenya Kwanza has just so many shenanigans. So many shenanigans. Willie Mutunga is saying that the day back in March, when Uhuru Kenyatta's farm was raided in Northland City, he tried to call Uhuru Kenyatta, but the call did not go through. But what he wanted to tell Uhuru was Uhuru to rush to court. Uhuru to rush to court. Look at this shenanigans. Jomo Kenyatta, Uhuru Kenyatta's son, the gun raid, where people just wake up in the morning, they create imaginary operation, then drive to the son of a former president, allegedly trying to ransack the house, looking for some imaginary guns. And for heaven's sake, let's just reason. Why would Jomo, who also have security, they also have security that are given as family of the former head of state, have 28 guns? You know, it's some imaginary emotions, shenanigans being created. And Uhuru Kenyatta then later came out and said that the son was only having 6. Will they have 20? Why would one person have 28? For what? And how often are those guns used? You know, so you can look at that. Look at Matiang'i's drama. Someone just woke up in the morning and decided to stage some test, still looking for the guns. Look at the whole story about the arrest of Pauline Njoroge. Pauline Njoroge was swayed, was lured to the coast. And while having on a vacation with her fellow friends in Watamu, she was arrested. All of a sudden, police is doing some search here and there. And then, you know, she's saying she had some supplements. Then all of a sudden, all these supplements have been turned to be exhibits of her being caught up in some narcotics. And, you know, look at the Maina Njega story. Arrests, then all of a sudden, a video circulates on social media on someone donating some pangas, you know, some choreographed video. Then 2 days later, someone is arrested and is directly linked to it. You know, you look at, this is shenanigans. If Maina Njenga is reviving Mungiki, would Maina Njenga go in public and be seen dishing money and pangas to people? You know, and that is why I say that the only hope that the sovereign have, the court must be neutral at the arbiter. And Martha Koome must call Kenya Kwanza to order. Otherwise, these shenanigans, really, they're just a lot. And they're not going to end today. I'm just stating you, Njongome meanza. Hapa mbele, before we get to 2027, we are really going to witness a lot of those shenanigans. Thank you.